Public Library's 100th Anniversary Radio Show podcast, brought to you by the 100th Anniversary Committee. Episode 5, The First Library Director, Kathy LaBuda.
See China right in front of you. See the canyons broken by cloud. See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. See the birds in fires at night. See the oiled fields at first light. And see the birds with the leaf in their mouth. After the flood, all the colors dim out. It was a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. Beautiful day.
Good morning, all you amazing netizens. This is Dana on The Edge reporting to you live from the Antioch Public Library, where I'm going to interview our library director, Kathy LaBuda, and president of our library board, Ann Kakasik. You just heard U2's Beautiful Day performed by a local band from Antioch High School. Let's start with the 411 of the day. Today is Friday, October 5th, 2000, and people are totally freaking out over mad cow disease, especially in England, where they have many cases of contaminated meat and people may be getting sick from it. Even Oprah is talking about how to be safe and maybe skip the burgers at your next barbecue, which caused her a lot of trouble with the Texas Cattle Association, who even tried to sue her in 1998. Unbelievable, right? In celeb gossip news, everyone's talking about Brad and Jen. Power couple Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston have been dubbed Brennifer, as the public obsesses over their relationship, but can they make it last? Only time will tell. The presidential election is heating up. The first debate was Wednesday night. The race is pretty much neck and neck at this point, but the debate was not without its share of scuffles. Vice President and Democratic candidate Gore spent a lot of time sighing loudly, shaking his head, and smiling as his opponent, Texas Governor George W. Bush, spoke. Bush repeatedly pledged to ring in a new responsibility era. Other than some of the comments on Bush's lack of experience, the candidates mainly stuck to the issues rather than personal attacks. The main issues discussed in this debate were campaign spending, abortion, military readiness, healthcare, and prescription drug reform. Now I have a brief cut to commercial, and then I'll be back for the interview. Give the gift of the internet. What a great gift for family, friends, or even yourself for the holidays. Sign up now and get 30 days free. 36K digital connection with no waiting, local access, World Wide Web, personal web pages posted free, web hosting and design. Call toll-free 177-NET-DIRECT. Use code 57631 when calling. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Kathy LaBuda and Ann Kakasik. We're going to be talking about the library, their new building project, and some other cool stuff. Good morning, Kathy. Ann, how are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
I'm fine.
Great. So first things first, we're called the Antioch Public Library District now. What exactly does that mean? Isn't the library part of the village?
No, the library is a separate municipality. We became a separate municipality for various reasons. Partly, when we were a township library, which is what we were before we became a district, we were a part of the township, not a part of the village. And as such, our boundaries were the township boundaries. And what that did was it cut off some of our students from the high school. They couldn't get library cards here. They were actually, they live out by 94, and they couldn't get library cards. So they'd come and we'd have to turn them away. When we became a district, we were able to annex that additional territory in the high school's district, and then everybody could have a library card.
That's awesome.
I'd like to add that it was due to Kathy that we were able to become our own district. It was her idea after we hired her, and that made it possible for us to be our own taxing district and our own library.
And as, we gave up things too at the township. When we were a township library, they paid all the utility bills. They also oversaw our budget, which meant when we turned in the budget, they could redline through things they didn't want us to spend. So when we became our own library, we had only our board to decide whether or not we were going to buy these things.
I'm so glad I asked. Next question, Kathy, when did you start at the library and what has changed since then?
I have a larger staff. We went from a staff of 8. I think we had a staff of 12. We had built a reference department and established a solid children's department, which were two things that this library certainly needed. I did a lot of other things like get the checks back in the library. They were in the home of the treasurer, and his wife was on the board. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does look of inappropriateness if two signers are in the same house. The minutes, I found all the minutes. Most of them had been a mess. They were scattered all over the building. I gathered them up, put them back in date order, sent the years to the bindery so that they would now be in nice volumes and people could find them. I brought the bookkeeping back into the library.
Seems like a lot of progress. Anne, what inspired you to volunteer to serve on the library board?
I started teaching at the age of 40 because I had dropped out of college after 1 year and went back and finished. And when I was in the high school, one of the requirements or suggestions that a teacher would do would be involved in the village. Shortly after that, the president of the board called me. There was an opening because someone had moved, and there was an opening on the library, and he asked if I would like to be appointed, and I said, yes, I think I would like that. About a week later, he called back and said, well, it's too bad somebody else has gotten appointed, and it won't be you. And then time after that, not too much longer, maybe a couple of months, there was another opening. He again asked me, and I accepted. And then after that, I liked being on the board so much that I ran for the rest of the time that I have been serving on the board. I've run in every election. And thank goodness I have been elected every time. So it goes back because it was a request to get on, but then I started to run.
Then you enjoyed it. And your family has had a long history with Antioch, right? Our former board president, Louise Voss, was your godmother. Would you like to talk about your memories and connections with Antioch, the library, and Mrs. Voss?
I would love to. The library has been part of my life since I was 5 years old. The library was in downtown Antioch, now where there is a closed restaurant. My mother was a reader. My father was in the war, and so during the war years, we went to the library and took out books every week. I am still an avid reader, but that's what started me out. I can remember vaguely, because it's been a long time, sitting in the little red chair and being read to, and then I can remember when I was able to read on my own, they let me take out any book I wanted to. There was no children's section, teenage section. There was nothing like that. It was just books. And it got me through the Second World War. Then, when I was in high school, and the library was moving, I helped with my best friend, actually pack the books up and move to the site where the library is located now. There was a big White House, and that's where we started with the library. Then, when Kath and I got the referendum passed for the extension, which is going to be happening as we're speaking, again helped pack up the books when we were moving from the White House down to the place where we are now, near the road. So I've been there a long time, first as a patron and then as a board member, and it's been wonderful the whole time.
Well, you seem like a dynamic team. What's the secret to your success and strong partnership?
I'd like to start. I wasn't the board president at first, but then rapidly saw what a board president does. And when Kathy was hired, because I was on the board when we hired her, she was very, very able to help us move into the 1900s in a way that would benefit Antioch and benefit the library. And I've been privileged to work with her all this time. And as a board member, and later on, now that I am a board president, my idea of any kind of a board is to make it possible for the people who are running the business to do the best they can. And I think that that's what Kathy has done, because we made it possible for her to be a very successful director of the library.
I was so pleased with the support that the board gave me. They gave me really only one basic mandate, and that was to make sure that the community loved their library. And that's what we worked on every single day. And we worked on it by hiring people who liked people and giving people service, so that, one of the things I taught the staff was, don't sit on your tail, get up and help the people, because they don't understand the Dewey Decimal System. Just get up and show them, and try to find the best answer you can, and always smile and try to answer their questions. And we worked hard at that, and it was a secret of success, I think, because in the year 2000, I feel we've turned the community around. The community wasn't all that happy with the library in '82. And Anne, being the president, she was behind whatever I did 100%. And I was trying to bring people in. I was trying to improve the collection, to bring about an efficient management. And she just was so supportive. It was wonderful.
I'm sure my listeners can learn a lot from both of you. Let's talk a little bit about the library itself. What are you both most proud of?
I'm proud of the library being so well accepted in the community. It is a place where people can learn, where they can entertain themselves, where they can better themselves. And the fact that they're comfortable coming here and supporting us, I think that's what I'm most proud of, and the job that Kathy is doing.
I guess I'm proud of the day-to-day things that we accomplished, bringing the mechanics of administration back into the library. We also had got rid of the card catalog, and we now had a digital catalog, and we started the first circulation system by 2000. Even if the 300s did crash the first day we bought it, and there was no 300s in. Couldn't check out a 300 if we tried. I'm proud that we are in the process of growing with the change in the whole world that's happening. Content, if you think of it as like a glass of milk. Milk used to come in glass bottles. Now it comes in paper cartons. Book content is starting to change. Books in 2 hard covers were the norm, but now we've got movies and we've got CDs, and they're talking about a DVD coming out, and we have people asking for both kinds. I didn't know there were going to be 2 kinds. I'm just proud that we've managed to weather the change that's occurring.
And for those who might not know too much about the library, what kind of materials or services do you provide for the community?
I'm going to let Kathy answer this, because that's what she knows best.
Well, we have obviously reading, we have reference services, we have children's services, a full range of programs in the adult department we're starting to develop. We're starting to develop more children's services. We have people who will help you learn how to use computers, because computers are very new to folks at this time. We have brought in people from CLC who are doing some training to the folks in the community who don't know how to read. So we're trying to help people there. We've got video cassettes, VHS. We have 33 1/3 records, although they're being phased out because CDs are coming in. We've got, I saw the 33 1/3 movie at the conference. It was amazing on this great big disc. They passed it around. So I suppose the VHS and the beta tapes are going out the window, and these big movie discs are coming in.
So you mentioned the library has computers now. How did Y2K impact them?
Well, I had a very lovely young lady who was working for us who was very good. Her name was Paula, and she made sure that Y2K really didn't impact them. We just kept going. Next day we turned it on and it worked.
Are the library computers able to access the internet? If so, how do you plan to keep people safe when they go online? There's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's plenty of bad too.
And this is a growing concern at this time in history. People are very concerned about things that kids could get into and other people can get into. The public computers all have programs that wipe away everything that was seen by the previous person, which were it's really interesting. People come in here and access their bookkeeping at their bank, and then they shut off the computer and they walk away. The next person can pull that up. So we put on, I think she called it windshield, and it wipes away everything that people had used before. So the next person who sits at that computer or stands at the computer can't see what the person before them did.
That's a great strategy. Focusing back on the library, how do you get the word out about great things happening here?
Kathy has been part of the community activities. Was it the Rotary Club? I know you went and talked at the Rotary Club often. And then when we prepared to do the referendum so that we could expand the building, there were committees of us that went out and spoke to different groups in the village or in the area of Antioch that we cover to try to give the information about what we do and how we can expand the library if the referendum would pass.
So if the referendum passes, what will you do with all that new space?
More books, more computers, more everything, more children's sections. Too bad that right now we cannot have a teenage section because we've always thought that that would be important, but we just don't have the room for it now.
Sounds exciting. I heard a rumor that the library property goes all the way up to home plate on the Little League field. What's up with that?
Kathy and I, when we knew that we had passed the referendum, had to find out just how much property we had. And I will never forget the day that I stood next to the building and Kathy had a tape measure and she was holding the property line. And at that time there was a hedge that actually held our parking place. It was covered with a hedge and it was behind where the building was. And nobody knew that the parking lot was not the edge of the property. So Kathy and I were there. I was touching the building, holding the end of the tape measure. And she's walking, and she walked up the little slope, and then she walked through the hedge, and then she walked into the parking lot of the baseball field. And actually, I don't think it was quite as far as home plate, but it was about half of that parking lot to the edge of the property. And the village was not very happy to hear that because they didn't know it either. It was a surprise to everybody. And that day is just, in my mind, it's just as clear as it is today because I'll never forget when Kathy kept walking with the tape measure and the building got larger and larger and larger all the time that we thought about it. So that's my vision of it. What's yours, Kath?
Well, I started by the architect that we chose brought me a picture of a potential footprint of the new building. And he had this line drawn, and I started measuring, and I knew the scale, and I went, that doesn't seem right. That seems like an awful lot more property over there than I thought we had. Because I remember in '82 when I started, the village came along, and they put blacktop on that little parking lot that's up between us and the home plate, the ball diamond. And I thought, oh, isn't that nice? They're paving that parking lot for the public. It was our parking lot. And so when I called the architect to double check, I said, what does this line over here mean? He says, well, that's the edge of your property. I said, where is the hedge? He said, well, if you draw a line here, this is where the hedge is. I said, but that's not the edge of the property. I know. Oh. So then I called Ann and I said, I think we've got more property here than you think we got. And she was surprised. Oh? And so her and her husband came over And we're out there with this tape measure trying to figure out where the edge is. And it's not quite as far as the home plate, but it covered darn near almost all of that parking lot up there. So that gave the Board of Trustees a bargaining chip to get us a better shaped lot to put the expanded building on.
And looking at the plans here, it seems like you're going to build right on top of the current parking lot to the east of the building. Where are people going to park?
People are going to park. We had to make it an arrangement with the people that owned the Scout House to have the Scout House removed, and the parking became north of the building then. And with the cooperation of the people in the village, we were able to get that done.
I'm sure the community is looking forward to everything. I have a few last questions, and then I'll let you get back to your important work. What type of things do you think the library will be doing in 10 years, 20 years, and beyond?
I think probably we will have to expand again because the village is growing. The things that we can bring to the village are important. So I would assume maybe by 2020 or 2021 we might be able to make the library larger. I'm not sure. It depends on what the people of Antioch want to do. But they've been very supportive up until now. So that's what I think might happen in the future. I don't know. What do you think, Kath?
Well, I think it depends on what happens with the way we deliver content to people. If it turns out, I kind of wonder if in the future we're doing a lot of digital delivery, we're going to wind up putting in a lot of servers and computers so that people can download this stuff into their homes instead of having to come to the library. The library may become more of a community center where they do things. I don't know. I know the area needs meeting room space. There was never enough meeting room space. And in '82, when I started, everybody was meeting on the floor, and they had to talk to each other to have their meeting. And then this person on this table was complaining that this table was noisy, so we'd have to go and ask them to be quiet. So one of the things I wanted when we expand was to put in some meeting rooms, and meeting rooms for small groups, meeting rooms for medium-sized groups, and meeting rooms for large groups. Sometimes I think if somebody opened a building and just set up meeting rooms, they could make a fortune.
Well, fascinating. I can't wait to see what happens next with the library. Thank you both so much for talking with me. I'm sure everyone out there in cyberspace is just as thrilled about the building project as I am.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Thank you for having me, too. I really enjoyed talking to you.
This is Dana on the Edge, live at the Antioch Public Library District, and I just wanted to thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed listening to my interview with Library Director Kathy LaBuda and Library Board President Ann Kakasik. If you have any questions about what we discussed, please post in the comments section below. I'll be back next time to explore Antioch more and bring you all the latest news, gossip, and fun facts. As always, have a great day. Now here's a local band from Antioch High School.
I'm doing this tonight. You're probably gonna start a fight. I know this can't be right. Hey, baby, come on. I loved you endlessly, and you were there for me. So now it's time to leave and make it alone. I know that I can take no more, and it ain't no lie. I wanna see you out that door, baby, bye, bye, bye. Don't wanna be a fool for you, just another player in a game for two. 'Cause you may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby, bye, bye, bye. Don't really wanna make it tough, I just wanna tell you that I had enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby, bye, bye, bye. You just hit me with the truth. Now, girl, you're more than welcome to. So, give me one good reason, baby, come on. I live for you and me, and now I really come to see that life would be much better.
Next time on the 100th Anniversary Radio Show podcast. Epilogue with current director Jennifer Drinka. This podcast was brought to you by the Antioch Public Library District. Research was done by Brenda Martinez, Jennifer Drinka, Rachel Stein, Hillary Schneider, and Katie McNatt. The cast: Dana Bukhari as Dana on the Edge, Ann Kakasik as herself, and Kathy LaBuda as herself. Music was performed by Anton Augusto and Kayla Jackal. Edited by Brenda Martinez. See notes for more details.